Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quality Management Summit meeting. My name is Sandra, and I will be moderating today's call. Our speaker today is Mira Margo, Director of Quality, Jenny Craig, presenting Supplier Risk Management. We will turn to the presentation in just a moment, but first I want to go over the web conference instructions. Everyone is currently in mute so that the background noise does not become distracting for the other participants. To view today's presentation as the screens change live, you may go to the link that was sent to you in your reminder email. Once in there, you may click anywhere on the page. Everyone see the pop-up with the option to make a comment? Feel free to ask questions by clicking on any slide, and we'll make sure all of your questions are answered. For the newer participants in the group, it might be useful to review some of the main benefits you can take advantage of as a member at no additional charge. First are the live monthly web conference meetings, which you've already dialed into today. I hope you find these useful, and we have an excellent lineup, which you can see by going to our website's schedule page. Second, we do record all of these, so if you are traveling or stuck in another meeting, simply log in at your leisure, and the full archives of past meetings are available to you with a number of interesting topics. Third, get to know the other members. By logging in, you can see all of their profiles, and we are glad to make any introductions if wished. Fourth, if you are wrestling with any key issues or decisions, we strongly encourage you to reach out to the other members. Also, our site makes it very easy to post questions. The seniority and experience of your fellow members makes this the best possible forum to get advice from others who have probably dealt with the same issues and can give you sound advice on what worked and what did not. Fifth, we really encourage site visits. If you have not visited others' offices to have a great discussion on best practices and see their facilities, please do so. You can log in to see the other members' companies and cities, so feel free to reach out, or, as mentioned, we are happy to make introductions. Sixth, we also generate executive summaries of meetings, including the key takeaways and learning nuggets, so that you can reference them and put them right into action. Seventh, our members are very busy, so we started a service where we pick out the top 6 most interesting articles among thousands at hundreds of sites to keep you abreast and ensure you don't miss the key ones. Lastly is our Book of the Month summary that you can either read or listen to as you commute. Each month we will be selecting the most interesting book, then summarizing the ideas so within minutes you can absorb the key takeaways. There are many other benefits, of course, but I just wanted to highlight some and keep a lookout on your inbox for a number of these each month. That takes care of the housekeeping items. If you'll just give me a few moments to now pull up the speaker's presentation and introduce her. Okay, all set. Now, before I turn the call over, I would like to tell you a little bit about our speaker today. Mira Margo is a quality director at Jenny Craig corporate office located in Carlsbad, California. She has been working in Jenny Craig for over 9 years, managing contract manufacturers, developing quality systems and processes, and supporting Jenny Craig retail stores and direct home deliveries across the U.S. and Canada. Prior to Jenny Craig, she was working for the Nestle factory in Iowa and was assigned for a compliance project at Nestle, Switzerland. Mira has a bachelor's degree in food science from the University of British Columbia. Myra, thank you so much for being with us today. Just say next when you wish the slides to advance, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Sandra, for the introductions. Hi, everyone, and I am happy and honored to present today the topic that I'm very passionate about. It is supplier risk management, which I believe it's a key factor in ensuring successful business to have successful business partners. So before I dive into it onto the next slide, I like to elaborate who Jenny Craig is, what the company is. So it is founded in 1983, and I often got asked whether Jenny Craig is a real person or not. The answer is yes. Jenny and Sid Craig initiated this business back in 1983 and has grown the business and changed ownership multiple times. And it's growing business where we offer comprehensive weight loss solutions. What makes us unique is we provide one-on-one personal support and also providing nutritional, balanced, delicious meals that are followed by our registered dietitians to help with the weight loss journey for our members. So we made it available for members that come in person to our centers, and we also surface remote members to our Jenny Craig Anywhere program, where the consultation is through phone or video chat, and the food are delivered to their home. So we have about 600 company-owned and franchise centers in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Puerto Rico. And we are pleased to be named as the best diet by U.S. News for 9 years straight in certain categories, which is the fast weight loss, and as well as the easiest plan to follow. So on the next slide, on our product portfolio, our members, typically eats about 6 times a day, which encompasses of 3 main meals and 3 snacks and dessert, and they follow our personally customized programs. So to ensure that our members are not bored with our products and our program, we offer about nearly 100 delicious menu items. And our product comes in the form of a prepackaged products range from a frozen, shelf-stable entrees, desserts, cereal, snacks, retort, beverage. So essentially, really a diverse product portfolio to encompass people's diet in a day. So in the next slide, where the topic of the day, which is about supplier management. To give you a little background, our food products are made 100% by contract manufacturers. So as you can imagine, is very key to ensure that our business partners, which is our suppliers, are really robust and reliable. Especially food safety and quality are really the core of our business. So with that being said, we do have a comprehensive process for qualifying and monitoring our supplier performance, which I elaborate in the next slides. The process into the next slide. So in terms of our process for a food safety and quality contract manufacturing qualifications, we have several steps. And the first step is we are doing a preliminary assessment in which we are sending, questionnaire and also third-party audit review of the vendor. And this step is very important, actually, to do a preliminary assessment before we investing too much work into it and then at the end find out they're not the right business partner for us. So this is done really early on in the game, where we found that there is a potential with this and they have the product category that we are looking for and seems to be promising. And as the project really moving along, for any of the new contract manufacturings, before we do finalize purchase order or anything like that far down the road, we conducted a mandatory on-site audit. So it's done by our own people. The audit comprises of 2 days. And it's very key, actually, to do this part, even though the suppliers have, third-party certifications, because during this process, we do learn about their people, their culture, because third-party audit certification is really good to bring into the, to explain about the foundations on what this vendor has, but doing mandatory on-site audit, it really helps you to really get to know who is the factory, what is really the culture and the people, and the trust level you have with the vendor. So if everything is good, then we issued a quality manual and specifications and having an agreement on both parties on how the product are supposed to be made. And then once we launched the product, we conducted a very close post-launch review. What complaint do we have? What feedback do we have? What issues do we have with this contract manufacturing, with the products? And also, we are monitoring them under what we call it a KPI. So it's a key performance indicators that we really review our supplier performance. So on to the next slide. Next slide. And so this is elaborations of what our co-man key performance indicator look like. We communicate this in a monthly basis to each of them, where we measure how many total of consumer complaint we receive on their products and how many foreign object related complaint we receive on their products, and also very important that we also measure them against complaint per million units sold, because one factory we just buy more or install more, and the other factory not as much. So we measure them against complaint per million units sold. And not only that, we also rank them on between different co-mans, who is ranked number 1, which is the best, and number 2, 3, and etc. And we issue it to them. And those ranking actually been very beneficial to not only just give them a number, but also to give them a benchmark against other suppliers on where they are at. So it has been a really good, healthy competitive competitions, I would say, to really outline to them what is their ranking among our other suppliers. And we also measure them against non-compliance. This encompasses of any out of specs or any issues that we found, as well as the last factor was we also measure them how many outstanding corrective action from that month. So this helped us to really keep track of how many issues that is still outstanding for them to really fix for us. And because this monthly report really sent to a larger group within their company, so typically they really don't want, have any open corrective actions listed in their report. So this also helped them to really drive the closure of the corrective actions. So onto the next slide is when I can elaborate more about how we manage consumer complaints management, which is one of the very important things that we do here in quality. We receive consumer complaints from our members reported from our stores, or the members who call to 1-800 numbers that we have in our package or our websites. So those complaints are logged into our portal, and we extract them daily and review them daily. We use a lot of trend analysis to see what is the trend of the issues, depending on the high risk, low risk, or even just a general trend that we really want to fix the issues. And from there, we'll prioritize which one we are working on and work with associate party to generate and document corrective actions. And we are logging every single corrective actions that we work with the co-man. And it's actually very important that we also not jotting down what do they do, but also when do they do it. And because it really helps us in tracking the effectiveness of the corrective actions. By the moment that the factory implement a corrective action, there's always a time lapse between, when it's implemented and then productions, and then the shipping, right? And then the storage, and then we sell the product, and that the feedback received from the members. So to really help us to really being able to go back, when this is produced, is it before or after the corrective actions, or if it's, after corrective action, then we know it's not effective and we need to go back and really work on it again is very critical for us. So we do a lot of tracking and documentations on that aspect. So on to the next slides is when I wanted to elaborate more in terms of how we do a risk assessment of our product. So prior to any product launches of any product, we conducted a risk assessment per product formulations, which depending on, the applications of the ingredient, different ingredient can pose really a different risk level. Such as, I give an example there that, if you have a IQF cilantro that you use as part of a cook sauce for garnish topping that you want to cook it, it does have a different risk level. So we take this moment to really work with the contract manufacturing to do a joint risk assessment. I'd like to mention that our contract manufacturers are actually the one who's sourcing the raw ingredient for us, and we are the turnkey, but it doesn't stop us to really understanding what the ingredient that used in our products and what are the risk assessment on that product. So it has been really, really useful to really avoid any surprises down the road in terms of the issues that we might be facing after the launch of the products. And we also document all changes. All changes are reassessed and documented when we have the change control log as well for that one. So we work very closely with our contract manufacturing in doing risk assessment for our products. So on to the next slides is when we provided a guidance to our contract manufacturing as well. One thing that I'd like to mention is that our contract manufacturers developing our products and we have to launch our product in really sensitive timeline. So in order to really avoid any delay, we want to make sure that there's a lot of alignment with our contract manufacturing to ensure that they're not, choosing the ingredients which we later on assess is not acceptable. So it's very critical for us that we outline our expectation to our contract manufacturing and that the contract manufacturing understand what is our expectations. So we outline, every single ingredients that are typically used in our products and what are typical questions we have for their vendor to make sure that we are on the same page. What is their, bone control measures, what is their foreign object control measure, and what kind of treatment they have in the ingredient, pesticide monitoring, and everything. So that it's just, this is really helpful for the guidance so that we have an alignment on how we how we assess the risks of the ingredients and the packaging of the products. So on to the next slide which is actually the last slide. This is where we got a lot of our references, how we develop our risk assessment. We use a lot of regulatory references, recall database, scientific literature, historical performance of the ingredient, and I provided a link there where it's a very useful FDA guidance as well in terms of what the risks of every single ingredient that is in the products. And I like to mention that we take it to the next level in terms of, understanding, yes, this ingredient have a certain risk level, and really the question is what kind of questions we have to the ingredient vendor or the contract manufacturing to ensure that the risk is actually being managed. So is a process that we ask a long list of questions to our vendors, understanding to make sure we are really choosing the right ingredient, the right vendors, and the right processes that is going to be used in our product. So like I said, it's actually the last slide. So hopefully it is useful. It's a short presentation, but hopefully it is something that is applicable in your area, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mira. We really enjoyed your presentation. Before I go out and check the chat line of questions submitted, do we have any live questions? Again, it is *6 to unmute your line and go ahead with your questions, or a reminder that you can also click anywhere on this last slide. Then you will see how to make a comment so you can type your question if wished. So again, any live questions? Okay, Mira, we have received several questions throughout your presentation. Keep in mind you may have touched on these, but I'll ask them all anyway just in case there's something you would like to add to or elaborate on. So our first question, does the quality team monitor supplier performance, or does that fall to ops or risk or some other business unit? If it is quality, how many people do you have assigned to this work?
Thank you for the question. So this quality key performance indicator for this particular subjects, which is the complaints and complaint per million units sold and non-compliance corrective action, are monitored by quality team. And we have 3 people within our quality team who really manage not only the KPI per se, but just an overall comment management. So it is fall under quality to measure this supplier quality-related performance. And I have to add that in addition to this monthly report, we do have additional frequency, which is not a monthly. It could be biannual or quarterly or annually from a business aspect to really monitor the performance. So those not only including the quality aspect, but they also including how is their customer service, how they deliver on time and 100% full. You know, when we order 100,000, they do ship us 100,000 unit, or they're always keeping it short. And also how is their innovation in product development. So we do have additional KPI, I would say, on the business aspect that monitor at the different frequency, and for those are being managed from a supply chain for the contract manufacturing person, like a purchasing. So hope that answered the questions.
Okay, thank you. Now, our next question, do you vet new vendors before you need them so that if you have a problem with the one you are using, you can make a quick change?
Do you mind to repeat the questions? I think I missed the first part.
Yes. So, do you vet new vendors before you need them so that if you have a problem with the one you are using, you can make a quick change?
Yes. The answer is yes. So if you notice that a certain vendor, having a trend of a problematics, then we are developing a backup plan on before we move them, so that we don't create a gap in the inventories or supply and less interruption from the business aspect. But there's also occasion where the issue was very high risk at that time, and we have to make the move right away, and there is a gap of time. But in order for us to really reduce the impact on that aspect, there is an initiative where the supply chain from the purchasing end side of it has to develop a backup plan. So even though right now they have no issues, we still have to understand who are the backup plan that we have. So in case of, there's a trend of issues or real issues that we are not very reactive. So it always is the plan to have a backup suppliers.
Okay, thank you. Now our next question, how often do you go back to the vendor's priority? Let me start over. How often do you go back to the vendor's properties to reassess them?
It's a very good question. So for every new vendor, we do it 100% all the time. And then for the recurring audit or visiting on-site for their property, it's really based on the risk level and their performance, actually. So if they have a lot of issues, then we always be on-site maybe multiple times in a year even to really work with them and solve the issues. But in terms of going for the one that have no issues, how often we go there, I would say from 3 to 5 years that we go back. It's because they do have a third-party audit certifications that they're being audited by globally standard GFSI, but also that we have seen their historical performance as well, that we don't see the need. So we really do a lot of prioritizations against the one that was the highest volume for us and the one that are causing issues. So that's what our most effort are being put.
Okay, thank you. And now our last question, How many limitations do you put on your product developers? Are they limited to the ingredients you have vendors for?
The limitations that we have on the product development. So in terms of that, there is several limitation or restriction, I should say, that we put. There is certain ingredient that we don't allow to be used, not from a quality food safety standpoint, but from more so from the labeling and as well as the from a regulatory or even for how we want our product are. Like we don't allow any artificial color, flavor, things like that on how we want our product are. And then in terms of food safety quality, we have our own requirement as well. And then we outline that into our suppliers.
All right, Mira, I think we have covered everyone's questions. Do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you would like to share before we end our summit today?
No, I think that, hopefully it is helpful to share what we have. So thanks for the opportunity.
Mira, on behalf of all of the executives on the line, I would like to thank you for sharing such powerful ideas and key thoughts with us today. Your involvement and dedication to our profession sets a high benchmark for others to follow. For all of the participants on today's call, thank you for your continued membership and insightful questions for today's speaker. The meeting is now officially concluded. Mira, thank you so much again, and everyone have a great day.
Bye-bye.